Hi, I'm Jim Sinicropi of FLX1.com in for Jessica Lahr, and this is a look at your week in the Finger Lakes. It's hard to believe, but we're closing in on the last weekend of August. Next Tuesday marks the first day of September, and the Finger Lakes is set to transition from spending time at the pool or out on the boat to making plans for apple picking or tailgating before the football game. Kids are set to head back to school, and we're all just marveling at how fast the summer slipped away. Not so fast yet, though, my friends. Labor Day is later than usual this year, and we have a bonus week of summer, and I'm here to show you the many options for getting out and soaking up the last bits of our Finger Lake summer. The weather will rebound from the autumn-like conditions we've enjoyed this week, with high temperatures on Saturday and Sunday pushing into the mid-80s after Friday afternoon's high in the upper 70s. There's next to no chance of rain, and we can expect partly sunny skies through the weekend and into the work week. If you're planning to be outside after dark over the weekend, you'll want to pack a light jacket or sweatshirt, as lows will drop into the lower 60s. All in all, another absolutely wonderful weekend to usher out August. For the complete local forecast and live radar images, visit our local weather center online or on the FingerLakes1.com Android or iPhone app. The Great New York State Fair is underway at the State Fairgrounds in Syracuse, and scheduled to play Chevy Court is Melissa Etheridge on Friday night and Buck Cherry on Saturday night. On Sunday, it's Nate Russ along with Hank Williams Jr. at the grandstand. You can find everything on the fair at newyorkstatefair.org or at the Life section on FingerLakes1.com. Live music on Friday night, a little closer to home, is Myra McGuire will be performing at the Nedlow Brewing Company in Bloomfield, along with a deck party at Buttonwood Winery with John Candell and the Midnight Choir hailing from Staten Island. And check this out, scrapbooking weekend at the Palmyra Inn kicks off for those interested in enjoying a weekend getaway to get a lot of scrapbooking done. More information at palmyrainn.com. And on Saturday, more live music with Paulson Baker and Chappelle Pork performing from 6 to 9 at Arbor Hill Winery. A lot going in Palmyra. Maybe scrapbooking's not your style. Maybe you like mud bog racing instead. Then you should head over to Kirby's Compound Mud Bog on Armington Road in Palmyra on Saturday afternoon. The two-day Wolf and Wine West at Fulkerson Winery gets underway in Dundee on Saturday. The event is free and allows people to enjoy a day out with their four-legged friends while supporting local rescues and shelters. And also day one of Leaves and Lobsters on the lawn at Glenora Wine Cellars, featuring an unbeatable combination of live music and a panoramic view of Seneca Lake and a lobster bake. On Sunday afternoon, you can come and see Lauren and Mark Fantastic award-winning international guitar duel at the Sodus Bay Lighthouse, and then cap off the weekend with an evening with Idina Menzel at CMAC in Canandaigua as part of her first U.S. tour. In case you didn't know, Menzel is most famous for the Let It Go theme from Disney's Frozen. The kickoff of the local high school and college football seasons are still a week away, with games in Section 5 next Friday night, and Syracuse set to open their 2015 campaign in the Dome against Rhode Island as well on Friday night. Also, plenty of fantasy football drafts will be conducted over the next few weeks, with the NFL season set to kick off in September on the 10th, with Rex Ryan's Buffalo Bills slated to host the Colts at Ralph Wilson Stadium on Sunday at 1 o'clock. That's next Sunday. This weekend, the golf world takes center stage as the FedEx playoffs get underway at the Barclays, and locally, the Dick's Sporting Goods Open is underway at Enjoy in Endicott, where you can see Bernard Longer try to defend his title at one of the most popular stops on the Champions Tour. In baseball, the Yankees will be in Atlanta for a 3-day series, and the Mets will host Boston for 3. College basketball analyst Jay Bilas jumped to the defense of Syracuse and lambasted the NCAA on Twitter Tuesday after the NCAA has delayed their decision on whether incoming Syracuse basketball recruit Mustafa Diagne can receive credit for a class he took in Senegal. Because of the delay, Diagne is forced to enroll in a 2-year junior college in Florida just to keep his visa. So the NCAA seems pretty concerned with one class that a kid took in Senegal 2 years ago, even though that same student athlete has been taking classes at a New Jersey high school for the past year, basically stripping him of his chance to attend his school of choice and play Division I college basketball this year. And yet they're willing to let the North Carolina Tar Heels basketball program slide by with less than a slap on the wrist after years of blatant academic cheating and fraud by dozens of former players. That sounds about right. Might be time to abolish the NCAA and start over from scratch. I'll be back in less than 60 seconds with our top 5 local photos of the week and this week's highlights from FingerLakes1.tv.
So many sights to see on the internet, but for everything local, there's no place you can get it. At FingerLakes1.com. Come on over to FingerLakes1.com. Make us your homepage. News, weather, sports, and fun. Log on to FingerLakes1.
Local news from over 40 sources, custom local weather, over 10 hours of live broadcasts and podcasts every week on your computer, tablet, television, or smartphone. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
www.fingerlakes1.com. Come on and join the fun. Log on to FingerLakes1.
www.fingerlakes1.com.
We had so many great photos sent into Finger Lakes One over the past week that it was hard to pick the top 5. You can view them all by clicking on photos at the top of our homepage, but our staff was forced to pick the top 5, and this week's top photo might just be a Photo of the Year candidate. First, an honorable mention from Jan Duano, who captured this double rainbow as it lit the sky over the fields in Rushville after the thunderstorms rolled through last Thursday evening. Now for the top 5 photos. At number 5, a capture of Skinny Atlas Lake taken by Deanna Lawrence in the south looking north on a gorgeous late summer afternoon on Sunday. In the 4th spot, this orange butterfly that was captured by Rachel Burkholder found these purple flowers in southern Seneca County on Wednesday. At number 3, a bright bed of Xena on Sunday at Sonnenberg Gardens in Canandaigua, photographed by Mike Sargent. And at the number 2 spot, a close-up by Shelley Landon of one of the thousands, the tens of thousands, maybe the hundreds of thousands of sunflowers that are in full bloom across the region, this one taken on Taylor Road in Clifton Springs on Sunday evening. Also, thanks for the shout-out on Facebook, Shelley. And finally, the photo of the week by Kevin Colton as he captured the grand finale of the Van Cleef Lake Centennial fireworks display on Thursday night over downtown Seneca Falls. Awesome photo, Kevin. Looking for a dinner and a movie this weekend? Check out what's playing in local theaters. On movie times at our homepage or on the FingerLakes1.com app. And if you missed it on FingerLakes1.tv this week, on Monday morning, WSYR News Channel 9 sports director and Ithaca College grad Steve Infante called into the Weber This Week show and talked about the state of the Orange football team and covering the Syracuse athletic department during the NCAA investigation.
Forward to the start of the football season. It really is a great college town, and you know, I mean, in terms of college basketball, I mean, it's right up there, top 5 college basketball towns in the country, I would say, no doubt.
Oh, no doubt.
Look at the attendance numbers year in and year out. And I think the football team, I think the program's moving in the right direction. You know, obviously they took a hit after Coach P left, and, you know, Greg Robinson had a lot of trouble in terms of getting wins. And after he left, you know, Doug Marrone, I think, started moving things back in the right direction. And I think Scott Schaefer has continued that. I like to look at last year to some degree as a fluke. I think the 3-9 record was not indicative of what that team could accomplish given all the injuries they had. They were ravaged by injuries up and down the roster. I've never seen a team suffer that many injuries. You know, Scott Schaefer said the same thing last year. So I'm excited to see what this team can do. I think at this point, 500, a 6-6 campaign, I think that would be a success. For where this program is right now, fairly new to the ACC. I think if they can get 6 wins and get to a bowl game, I think that's a success. I think it's going to be tough. I think they have a really difficult schedule this year. But I think that they're starting to move back in the right direction.
Do you get that sense from your friends at local restaurants that they're willing to give Schaefer a few years to get this thing turned around? Because coming off a 3-9 record, he made a comment last week which kind of surprised me. I know you have a new AD in town taking over for Daryl Gross, and he mentioned, I think the article was entitled Schaefer on Hot Seat as we move into 2015. Coming off a 3-9, he made a comment in talking with the AD that the AD and him agreed that this is not a race, it's a marathon. When I read that, I was taken back a little bit thinking, well, I don't know, the Syracuse football lovers want it to happen quick. And do you get the sense that they got to get some W's and get a 6-6 or a 7-5 soon?
Well, yes and no. I mean, we know it's a win-now business. There's no doubt about that. And you're right. I saw that same quote that he talked with Mark Coyle, the new athletic director. And every time a new AD comes in, there's always some concern that is the coach safe? Is he not safe?
Sure.
And, given the fact that they were coming off a 3-9 campaign, does he want to bring in his own guy? And Mark Coyle came from Boise State, where they had a lot of success.
Right.
So he knows how to win at a smaller program. And obviously, Syracuse is a Power 5 conference, unlike Boise State. But same kind of feel that Boise State had certain challenges in terms of, recruiting people to their campus and whatnot, but I think Syracuse shares some of those challenges competing against Southern schools in the ACC and whatnot. But there's always some concern when a new AD comes in that the coach might not be safe. I do get the sense that people are willing to give him a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I say that is that you look at this recruiting class that they have coming in next year. They landed a running back by the name of Robert Washington from North Carolina, and he picked Syracuse over the likes of Florida,
right,
Alabama, Michigan. And when you hear that, it kind of opens your eyes up a little bit. And then a month or two later, they get a quarterback by the name of Rex Culpepper from down in Florida. And again, he picked Syracuse over some big-name schools, including Ohio State and Clemson. Man. And so even coming off a 3-9 campaign, the fact that this coaching staff has been able to recruit that well,
mm-hmm.
and you feel like they're starting to infuse some talent, they're getting a couple of 4-star guys,
yep.
They're getting a good number of 3-star guys, and I've never put a lot of stock into the recruiting services, but when you're starting to beat out Clemson and Ohio State and Alabama and Michigan here and there, opposed to in the past, they would pick up a guy who pick Syracuse over Bowling Green and Toledo. Like, to me, that says something, and I think that says something to the fans here in town that, all right, let's, this is only year 3 for Scott Schaefer. I mean, we forget that. Year 1, first year in the ACC, I think he overachieved. He got that team to a bowl game when they probably had no business winning 7 games. Mm-hmm. They did win 7 games.
Yep.
Year 2, I say they underachieved. There's a reason for that. Injuries, and maybe that's an excuse, maybe it's not, but I think we'll find out to some degree this year. So, yeah, I think there's a wait-and-see approach by people here in town. And are they frustrated? Sure, they're frustrated. Also know that turning around a college football program does not happen overnight. It's not like basketball where you can land a Carmelo Anthony and a Jerry McNamara and go from being a 500 team to a title contender. It doesn't work like that in football. We all know that. So I think there is a certain wait-and-see approach. People are getting restless. People want to see wins.
Yep.
But I like the direction that Scott Schaefer is starting to take this program, and I think a lot of people around here agree with that as well.
Yeah. Good, and I see the NCAA just released a survey, which I don't understand how they do this. They just announced strength 1 to 128 Division I schools, and they had Syracuse pegged at 88th. And I thought, that's not great material to read if you're an SU fan either. I mean, did you see that article? The grading system of the NCAA, why they do that is beyond belief. Obviously, Ohio State was ranked 1, but I couldn't believe Syracuse got an 88th billing, and that kind of just shook me up thinking, boy, there's no respect like Rodney Dangerfield, So,
yeah.
But time will tell. Hey, let's switch our attention to basketball. Obviously, Jim Boeheim, born in Lyons, New York, where obviously I might add during this interview, so was I, second most famous guy at Lyons other than Jim Boeheim. But, in seriousness, Steve, you must have heard murmurs that the hammer was coming down about SU and the basketball/football program, the penalties issued by the NCAA several months ago. You were not surprised that some punishment was coming their way. I guess the question is, were you shocked at the punishment they single-handedly pointed on Jim Boeheim specifically, and the penalty that he's going to face unless it gets appealed and overturned is upcoming basketball season? He cannot participate in 18 ACC games, the entire schedule for that team. Did that surprise you much?
It did surprise me, and yes, we knew sanctions were coming. I honestly thought that it would be scholarship reductions.
Right.
I thought maybe they would hit him with taking away some wins and vacating of wins. I did not expect the hefty suspension that they handed down. He's going to have to sit out half the ACC schedule.
Amazing.
To me, and again, this is just my opinion, and this is not me as Stephen Fani from News Channel 9. This is just me, my personal opinion. It felt personal to me when you look at the sanctions that they handed down and how stiff the penalties were, especially assessed against Jim Boeheim. To me, it felt a little personal between Jim Boeheim and the NCAA. Right. And I guess I'll leave it at that. It's going through the appeals process right now. I assume we'll hear sometime soon. But I think that the better chance that they have in terms of the appeals, I think maybe they get the scholarship restrictions maybe softened a little bit. They have to take 2 of their coaches off the road currently for a 2-year period. Instead of having all 4 coaches on the road, they can only have 2 coaches recruiting right now. So maybe that limitation gets softened a little bit. But I don't know. Again, my personal opinion, I think the NCAA wanted to make an example out of Jim Boeheim and for other coaches around the country and whatnot. And I think that was what they went about trying to do. They wanted to make an example of him, and obviously the NCAA and Jim Boeheim have a long history.
Oh,
and
much
he's
so.
Been in the game. This is his 40th year as head coach. So I think it's unfortunate. I think Jim Boeheim is handled it the best he could. He's gonna, I assume he's gonna sit out those games, and Mike Hopkins will take over. It'll be a nice dry run for Mike Hopkins, who's going to take over the program now in 3 years, and. I think the future looks bright for this program. They've got a great recruiting class coming in next year. I think they'll be pretty good this year, but I think next year is the team to watch.
Jimmy Sinicropi, a graduate of SU and an owner of our network here, FLX1.com, wants to ask you a question.
Hey, Steve. I'm just wondering, during this NCAA investigation, if you didn't, how do you fight the urge to kind of editorialize a little bit about maybe your true feelings about how Syracuse is treated by the NCAA as a fan? And this is something, too, that affects your business because, you certainly have a lot to cover in those Final 4 years. And when Syracuse has success, WSYR has more success. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do you kind of balance the urge, I suppose, to kind of, say how you might really feel as opposed to how you probably should report?
Well, that is a great question, and that is something that has been, really a challenge for me since the moment I got in this business, and especially being in my hometown. The answer is a couple of things. You said that, it's good for business when SU does well, and you're absolutely right. It's good for News Channel 9, and honestly, it's good for me as well. I mean, a couple of years ago when we went to the Final Four, yes, it's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding. That's,
right.
These are the kinds of stories that, as a sportscaster, you want to go out and cover, and you want to be on the road, and you want to go to the Final Four, and you want to cover big events. And so, that's fantastic. And last year, with the, obviously the postseason ban, and then they couldn't even go to the ACC tournament, and so March rolls around, and you're kind of left with this empty feeling.
Right.
We're just so used to March. We ramp up our coverage, and there's a certain adrenaline rush, and we just didn't have it last year. So from a personal perspective, yes, it was disappointing having to sit through that. I know it was disappointing for the team. Rakeem Christmas, what he was able to do over the course of his 4 years, you feel for the kid. Worked so hard, did everything the coaches want him to do, and he's got to sit home, his final postseason. But to get back to your question about, how do you handle that? For me, and that's where the radio show is a nice outlet for me, because when I'm on TV, I really have to keep it, facts and figures, and this is what was said, and let's hear from the coach and let's hear from the NCAA and just keep a very balanced report. When I'm on the radio, and I'm not saying I become a homer when I'm on the radio, but when I'm on the radio, I am allowed to share my opinion a little bit. And so as we're chatting here now and I'm talking to you guys about how I feel about certain things, I'm able to do that on my show as well and kind of interact with the caller. So it is a nice outlet for me, whereas when I'm on TV and I have the limited amount of time, 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever it may be for a sportscast, I do my thing for TV and for Channel 9 and keep it fair and balanced, and this, facts and figures are very straightforward. And then when I'm on the radio, I can let loose a little bit more, share my feelings, share my opinions, interact with the callers. And so that's been a nice outlet for me through this whole process.
Thanks again for Stephen Fonte for taking time out to take part in Harold Weber's show on Monday morning. Next week, the Web Dog has local writer Josh Durso in studio, and Bill Parker will also talk about next weekend's Rotary Jazz Fest at Goose Watch Vineyard. Tiger Woods made a run at extending his PGA Tour season last week, but fell short on Sunday, and on Monday night, Tiger's future was a topic for discussion on the Finger Lakes Golfer podcast.
So now let's talk about Tiger. Started the week 187th in FedEx points, and he did finish top 10, birdieing 4 of the last 7 holes, I think, after triple bogey in the 11th to move up to 178th. But they're saying now by the end of the year, he may drop even further. So as it turns out, solo second wouldn't have been good enough to get him into the playoffs. He needed to win Sunday to keep his season alive, but he's definitely moving in the right direction. But he's still not close. He folded. He chunked it. He skulled a chip and chunked a chip. I mean, he's got the chipping yips.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff that he had in Phoenix Open back in January or February to now. I don't know. I know, Doug, you think he's on his way back.
I do believe he's on his way back. And just you saying that he's improved so much makes me truly believe, because you were dead set against him all season long here on this show.
Well, but we got to define what it means for Tiger to be back. For me, it's win a major, win another major. He doesn't even have to catch Nicklaus. For him to be back, he needs to win a major, not lead a major in the 3rd round and finish 5 shots back in the 4th, not even win the Wyndham,
Right.
Or not win the Fries.com in the fall.
Right.
Those are all indicators that he's back. But when I say that he's done, I mean done winning major championships.
So what I saw, over 72 holes, probably 66, 67 holes of pretty solid golf. He made a couple of bogeys. He had 1 triple bogey, no doubt about that, right on number 11 yesterday. Mm-hmm. But he played darn well. It wouldn't have taken much maybe to win that event. And I really believe if he wins 1, he might win 5 of the next 7.
It could, because I think it's mental.
Yeah.
I don't think, there's a lot obviously technical going on there, but I think the overriding reason for his struggles are mental. Yeah. He even mentioned that his hip was bothering him.
Yeah, I saw that.
And, that's typical Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
When something like this happens, an injury goes along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So either A, he's just kind of making that stuff up because he's having so many mental issues, or B, he really does have another physical ailment that's going to require another extended leave. And
But he did grab his back or his hip a couple times on 11 and 12, but then he birdied, 3 of the last 5 or 6.
Sure, it didn't hurt anymore.
Right. So, well, it's mental, right? I don't know. I think he's not far off. I saw a guy hitting balls, and as soon as he picked up his tee, hit the ball, pick up the tee, or hits his iron shots, he's staring right at that flag. That was kind of vintage Tiger for 66, 67 holes. All right. I think his putting looks solid.
Yeah, he putted better than he has in a while.
I wish we were talking about this in March or April, because I think the season could be different. And the sad thing is now he's probably not going to play until the event that he hosts in December or something along those lines.
Well, he's committed for the Fries.com, right? And Bob, you've been saying you want him to play a lot in the fall.
I think he should play too. I totally agree.
I tell you, though, if he does in those weaker field events and he doesn't win a couple or
contend,
which who knows how he's going to be after an extended layoff again. I don't know. How can you then enter the major season with any confidence? There'll be even more questions, and at some point, they just I don't think it'll ever happen. As long as Tiger's playing golf, the media will care, and people will show up like they did at the Wyndham.
Yeah, they printed 49,000 extra tickets because he committed.
Yeah, think about that. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. So let's talk about CBS. You said it was great coverage.
I thought it was better. More golf. They showed more golf.
Where was Jim Nantz? The Wyndham was such a weak event. Jim Nantz had the week off.
Yeah.
And what if Tiger won that and Jim Nantz wasn't there?
Yeah, that's true. He wouldn't have been able to make the signature call.
That's right.
Maybe it's Jim Nantz's fault that Tiger took that triple.
Could be.
Well,
it shows you the golf really revolves around him. Because what did you say? He was 187th in the FedEx Cup going in, 290 something in the world or whatever going in, and he says I'm going to play, and there's 50,000 extra fans.
Yeah.
They must run out of hot dogs.
Oh, yeah, they had to order more of everything. I'm sure it was a boon for the tournament.
Everybody had to make a fortune. The sponsors had to be happy. And now the FedEx Cup's probably not.
Right.
A little more upset he's not.
Oh,
gonna play.
absolutely. And if anybody was rooting for him, it was the good folks over at FedEx.
Yep.
And I don't believe 50,000 people went there to watch him chunk that chip shot on 11. They went there to watch him win.
Yeah, especially
So the love-hate is gone.
Oh yeah, I think more people they want to be a part. If there's a difference too between a viewer at home and a patron at the event.
Yes.
When you're a patron at a golf event, you feel like you're part of that event. So
Right.
yeah, if you're feeling that momentum of a Tiger Woods run, you want to be a part of it. You want to tell people about it. So you will become a Tiger fan. At least most people would. I don't know if
Right.
I would.
Well, a couple things.
I might
You
go.
would.
I might go follow Jason Gore.
A couple things. Americans, at least American golf fans or American sports fans, love the underdog. So right now, I think it's fair to say that Tiger Woods is pretty much an underdog in every event he gets into.
That's true too.
Another thing too is Tiger is, whether you like it or not, he's trending mathematically in the right direction. And after the last tournament, he's trending very hard towards very, very positive results. I think he's just, he's going to build upon it every tournament he plays, and he's going to get more and more confidence. And when Tiger has confidence, he can be dangerous. He could be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think he gained any. I think he gave all the confidence away with that bladed chip on 11. I think any confidence that he gained, he gave it right back because he'll be in a situation like that again. And he's been practicing the chipping, obviously, if he's concerned about it. And so I think with that one blade, it just is like a huge setback.
I think it's all momentum, right? He knows he can do it for 3 rounds. Next thing you know, he's going to do it for 4 rounds. And once he can get through 4 rounds, and maybe he'll finish second, maybe he'll win.
Right.
He knows he can do it, and it's like a little snowball going down a hill, right? So.
Yeah, but you know who else is trending? Brooks Koepka, Danny Lee, David Lingmerth. I mean, there's just so much competition out there for him.
I think a Tiger Woods with confidence is more dangerous than anybody on tour right now.
I'll agree with you there, but I don't think he has the confidence.
I don't think so either.
Well, he needs to get it. He needs to get it.
But there was a couple of shots he putted off the fringe a couple of times that I thought on Friday that they should have been chips, and I think that's in his head.
Sure.
He knows.
He's got the
better
chip in
off
yips.
putting. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So even when he's playing and he's contending, he's still thinking about that in the back of his mind.
Absolutely.
You're right. Most of those professionals would chip from there.
Yeah.
They very seldom putt from 5 feet off the edge.
Yeah.
So now what happens when Tiger finds himself on the 16th hole or 17th hole at Augusta with a tough little pitch shot and he's in contention again? And I'd take anybody else in the field except for Tiger to hit that shot.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. He could work himself out of it. But Golf Channel did a nice little segment about Brandel Chambly talked about the chipping yips and about how that's like something you never overcome, and he's never seen anybody overcome it. You work around it.
Right. So I would agree with your assessment about the confidence loss after the chip, except for the way he finished up the back 9.
But the pressure was off him.
I know, but if he'd have shot 42, then I would say right. Now the driver goes crooked and the wedge goes off the green and all that kind of good stuff. But he comes back with 3 birdies.
3 months ago, he wouldn't
So
have.
he did charge into the top 10, but is Tiger? Do you look at Tiger Woods as a guy who charges to the top 10 or that blows away the field and wins the tournament?
Right now the glass is half full for me. Okay.
Still half empty for me.
Hang on to it, Doug.
Well, this will probably be the last time we talk about Tiger. We've talked about him all summer.
Right.
It's kind of been the summer of
Could be
Tiger,
done.
but he's gone. We'll talk about other things going forward. So fairly well, Tiger Woods.
Check out all this week's episodes at FingerLakes1.tv or on the FingerLakes1.tv tab on our app. All of our audio programming is also streaming in rotation on Finger Lakes One Radio. Thanks for joining me for another edition of FLX Weekly. Jessica will be back next Wednesday afternoon for FingerLakes1.com. I'm Jim Sinicropi, hoping you're able to get out and enjoy the last weekend of August here in the Finger Lakes. Have a great one, everybody.